The sun is a bomb, and the fuse just burned down. You don't hear the explosion, you don't feel the heatwave. In fact, for the first 8 minutes after the X-class flare erupts, you're scrolling through your feed, completely ignorant that modern civilization has essentially just been unplugged. When a Carrington-scale event hits, it doesn't look like a Hollywood disaster movie with crumbling buildings. It looks like a confused silence. We are going to walk through the first 24 hours of a total grid collapse caused by a coronal mass ejection. We aren't talking about a storm knocking down a few lines. We are talking about the copper wiring in your walls acting as an antenna for a geomagnetic storm, melting outlets and frying the backbone of the internet. Most people think they have 3 days of food and water, so they're fine. They're wrong. The first day is the most dangerous, not because of starvation, but because of the sheer kinetic chaos of a world that forgot how to function without a pulse. If you are relying on a generic bug-out bag list you found on Pinterest, you are preparing for a camping trip, not a solar event. A solar flare scenario has unique physics that change the rules of survival. Your fancy electronic safe locks? Sealed shut. Your solar generator? Likely fried if it wasn't shielded. Today, we break down the timeline hour by hour, focusing on the specific threats that arise when the magnetosphere buckles. If you want to survive the first day, while everyone else is waiting for a restart that isn't coming, you need to secure your spot in this briefing right now. Let's start the clock at hour 0. It's 11:14 AM on a Tuesday. You're in an elevator, rising to the 14th floor for a meeting. The LED display counts up. 10, 11, 12. Then, there's a sound you've never heard before. A low-frequency groaning, like metal vibrating under immense stress, coming from the building's core. The lights don't just flicker, they surge brighter than the sun for a split second, popping the bulbs with a violent crack, before plunging you into absolute, suffocating darkness. The elevator brakes slam engage, throwing you to the floor. Silence follows. But it's not quiet. Outside the building, car horns begin to blare in a continuous, unceasing drone because the logic boards controlling their alarms have fried. You pull out your phone to use the flashlight. The screen is dead. The device is hot to the touch, burning hot. The battery has just discharged its entire chemical potential in seconds due to the induced current. You are trapped in a metal box, in the dark, with a piece of burning lithium in your pocket. In this moment, 99% of the population enters a state of normalcy bias. If you were on the street, you'd see people staring at their phones, mashing the power button, blowing into the charging port. They assume it's a local glitch. They assume it's a cell tower outage. They assume the elevator will reset in 30 seconds. This passivity is lethal. While they stand around waiting for an authority figure to speak over a PA system that no longer has power, the window of opportunity to act is closing. They treat the event like a pause button has been hit on reality. They don't realise that the stop button has actually been smashed. They linger in dangerous areas, underground subways, interior rooms without windows, or trapped in traffic jams, waiting for a green light that will never glow again. Let's look at the physics of why your phone burned your leg. A Carrington-level event drives geomagnetically induced currents, or GICs, through long conductors. The power grid is the biggest antenna on Earth, absorbing gigawatts of space energy and funneling it into transformers. But here is the catch. Induced currents can happen in any conductive loop, depending on the severity of the localized magnetic fluctuation. While small electronics are usually safe from the grid surge itself, the electromagnetic pulse, EMP, component of a massive superflare can induce high voltages in smaller circuits. The immediate logistical priority isn't checking the news. It is physical safety from electrical fires. you need to verify that your immediate surroundings aren't about to ignite. Surge protectors are useless against this scale of energy. If you are near a breaker box or a substation, move. The oil inside high voltage transformers boils instantly in these events, leading to explosions that can level a city block. Here is the twist specific to a solar event that distinguishes it from a cyber attack or a standard blackout. The auroras. If this happens at night, the sky will light up red and green as far south as Cuba or Hawaii. If it happens during the day, the ionization of the atmosphere can be so intense that the sky turns a bruised violet colour. This is your visual cue. If the power dies and you look up to see the sky on fire, you know this isn't a blown fuse. You know this is global. That visual confirmation is the most valuable intel you will get for the next 10 years. It tells you immediately, do not wait for the subway. Do not wait for the bank. Start walking home. Now. Hour 2. You've escaped the office building. The streets are a deadlock of confusion. It's not just that the traffic lights are out, it's that modern cars are computers on wheels. A 2024 sedan with electronic fuel injection and drive-by-wire steering might be bricked in the middle of the intersection. Older vehicles are swerving around them, mounting sidewalks. The soundscape is terrifying. No engines humming, just the crunch of metal on metal and people shouting. You pass a pharmacy. The automatic doors are stuck half open. Inside, the pharmacist is arguing with a woman who needs insulin. The point-of-sale system is dead. The time-lock safe for the controlled substances is frozen shut. He literally cannot open the register or the safe. Cash is currently useless because nobody knows the price of anything without the scanner beep. The transaction of life has halted. The masses are now making their first critical error. They are trying to commute. They are descending into subway stations, assuming the trains run on a different grid. They are waiting at bus stops. They are packing into gridlocked roads, burning precious fuel in idling cars that might overheat as their electronic cooling fans fail. This is the commuter trap. In a solar blackout, the transportation network is the most dangerous place to be. You are essentially stepping into a kill box of panicked crowds, flying glass from accidents, and potential fires from ruptured gas lines in vehicles. They are wasting the last few hours of daylight trying to get to a destination they can't reach, instead of securing a safe haven where they stand. Your objective in this window is distance and isolation. If you are in a city centre, you need to get to the periphery. Plot a route that avoids major intersections, tunnels, and bridges. These are choke points. If you have a get-home bag, this is when you deploy it. But here is the specific solar logistics check. Communication. Do not waste time trying to call anyone. The cell towers are likely dead, but even if they have battery backups, the ionization in the atmosphere disrupts the signals. Radio waves are scrambled. Your GPS is gone. Satellites are either in safe mode or fried by the particle storm. You need to navigate by landmarks, not Google Maps. If you didn't download offline maps or keep a paper atlas, you are navigating by memory. Move fast, move quietly, and get off the main arteries. The twist with a solar flare is the false hope intervals. Because the geomagnetic storm comes in waves as the plasma cloud washes over the Earth, the grid might try to re-engage. The lights might flicker on for 10 minutes. A radio station might burst through the static. This is a trap. People will see the lights flicker and stop walking home, thinking it's over. It's not. The grid operators are trying to balance loads on damaged transformers, and the protective relays will trip again as the next wave of induced current hits. Do not let a momentary return of power seduce you into stopping. Treat every flicker of electricity as a death rattle, not a recovery. Late afternoon. The sun is dipping and the realization sets in. The street lights aren't coming on. You are home now, or at your rally point. You go to the sink to fill a glass of water. The tap sputters. A burst of brown, rusty sludge shoots out, followed by a hollow hiss. The municipal pumps that drive water up into water towers or pressurize the mains run on electricity. Without the grid, gravity takes over. The water in the pipes is draining to the lowest point. If you live on a hill or a high floor, your taps are already dry. You hear your neighbour in the hallway frantically banging on your door, asking if you have water. The panic in their voice is rising. They aren't asking for sugar anymore. They are looking at their dehydrated toddler and realizing the house is just a box of dry drywall. The failure here is the scavenger phase onset. People rush to the grocery store, but they buy the wrong things. They grab milk, frozen pizza, and raw meat, items that will spoil in 12 hours without a fridge. They ignore the canned goods because they aren't thinking in terms of months. They are thinking about dinner tonight. They also panic buy useless items like toilet paper, while leaving the water aisle untouched until it's too late. Worse, they use their digital wallets. They stand at the counter arguing that Apple Pay should work offline. By the time they realise cash is the only language left, the store is being looted by those who skipped the checkout line entirely. Let's talk fluid dynamics. An average municipal water system has about 12 to 24 hours of residual pressure, but heavy usage drains it in 4. The moment the power cuts, your priority is the bathtub protocol. Plug the drain. Turn on every tap. Fill the tub, the sinks, the pots, and the washing machine drum. That is your reservoir. The water in your hot water heater is also a reserve, about 40 to 50 gallons of potable water. Do not flush the toilet. I repeat, do not flush the toilet. You need to transition immediately to a yellow let it mellow policy or a bucket system. Every flush wastes 1.6 gallons of drinkable water. In a solar blackout, water is not for hygiene, it is for hydration. You need to calculate 1 gallon per person per day minimum. If you have a family of 4 and you didn't fill the tub and the taps are dry, you are in a survival crisis by tomorrow morning. The specific solar threat here is the failure of the Internet of Things water infrastructure. Modern water treatment plants use SCADA, supervisory control and data acquisition systems, to manage chemical levels, chlorine, fluoride. These systems are highly sensitive to voltage irregularities. Even if the pumps work on backup diesel generators, the dosing computers might be fried. This means the water coming out of the tap in those last few hours might be chemically unbalanced, either untreated raw sewage water or hyperchlorinated sludge. You cannot trust the tap water even if it flows. You must boil or filter everything from minute 1. Assume the treatment plant is brain dead. Nightfall. This isn't the darkness you're used to. In a normal power outage, there is sky glow, the ambient light from the next town over reflecting off the clouds. Tonight, the horizon is a void. The only light comes from the stars, which look terrifyingly bright, and the eerie shifting curtains of the aurora borealis overhead. Inside your home, the silence is heavy. The fridge has stopped humming. The HVAC fan is dead. You start to hear things you usually ignore. The settling of the house's timber, the breathing of your family, the shouting of people 3 streets away. A window smashes nearby, then a gunshot. The sound carries for miles without the dampening effect of traffic noise. You are sitting in your living room, wrapped in blankets, watching a candle flicker, realizing that for the first time in your life, you are invisible to the rest of the world. The deadly mistake people make in the first night is light discipline failure. They light up their homes like Christmas trees with every flashlight and candle they can find to fight the fear. This makes their house a beacon in a sea of darkness. It signals to everyone outside, we have resources, we are awake, we are unprepared. They also misuse fire. They bring camping stoves indoors for heat or light without ventilation. Carbon monoxide poisoning kills more people in the first 24 hours of a winter blackout than the cold does. They fall asleep with candles burning on acrylic carpets. The fire department is not coming. If you start a fire tonight, you burn alone. Your logistics for the night are simple. Blackout curtains. If you don't have them, tape cardboard or heavy blankets over the windows. Not a sliver of light should escape. Inside, you establish a one-room policy. The whole family sleeps in a single room. This conserves body heat if it's winter, and, more importantly, it centralises security. You need a watch schedule. One person stays awake in 2-hour shifts. Why? Because the electronic security system is dead. The cameras, the motion sensors, the keypad, all inert. You are the sensor now. The person on watch sits in the dark, listening. They are listening for the sound of glass breaking or a door handle being tried. This isn't paranoia, it's the reality of a lawless environment. Here is the solar-specific nightmare for the night phase. The pipeline risk. Natural gas distribution relies on pressure, often maintained by electric compressors at intervals along the pipeline. When the grid fails, valves can fail open or closed. If the geomagnetic current has corroded or heated the pipeline sensors, the pressure can fluctuate wildly. In some areas, gas might stop flowing. In others, pressure might build until relief valves vent raw gas into the atmosphere, or into homes with pilot lights that have gone out. The air in the suburbs might start smelling of sulphur, mercaptan. If you smell rotten eggs, do not light that candle. Shut off your main gas valve immediately. The infrastructure is volatile tonight. Dawn breaks. You wake up expecting the alarm on your phone. It's dead. You instinctively reach for the light switch. Nothing. The house is freezing. You walk to the kitchen. The freezer is leaking a small puddle of water onto the floor. The thaw has begun. You look out the window. The street is filled with stranded cars that were abandoned overnight. People are walking down the centre of the road like zombies, holding empty gas cans, looking for a station that works. There is no news, no morning show, no Twitter feed to tell you if the government is sending help. The isolation hits you harder than the darkness did. You are disconnected from the hive mind. You check your radio. All you hear is static. The ionosphere is still churning, scattering the AM signals. You are on an island. Day 2 begins with the freezer panic. People open their freezers to check the food. Every time they open that door, they let the cold air out and warm air in, accelerating the rot. They decide to cook a huge feast to use up the meat. The smell of barbecue fills the neighbourhood. This is a tactical error. The smell of cooking food in a starving, panicked neighbourhood is a dinner bell. It attracts attention you do not want. Furthermore, they gorge themselves on calories they should be rationing, spiking their blood sugar and making them sluggish. They throw away the water from the melted ice, wasting gallons of potable liquid. They are consuming their resources in a gluttonous farewell party to the old world. The logistics of the fridge are a math problem. A full freezer keeps temperature for 48 hours if unopened. A half-full one? Maybe 24. Your move is to consolidate. Take everything from the fridge and pack it into the freezer to increase thermal mass. Fill empty space with water bottles or blankets to reduce air volume. Do not open it unless absolutely necessary. Eat the perishables from the fridge first. Dairy, leftovers. But do it cold. Do not cook if you can avoid it, to save fuel and reduce odour signature. If you must cook, do it indoors with windows blocked. Or dig a Dakota fire hole in the backyard to hide the flame and smoke. You are now in a calorie deficit management mode. You need to inventory your shelf-stable dry goods. Rice, beans, pasta. Count the calories. Divide by the number of people. That is your countdown clock. The solar twist for the morning after is the banking collapse. By hour 16, people realise the ATMs aren't coming back. The banks are closed, digital ledgers may be corrupted. In a standard power outage, the bank has a record of your money. In a severe geomagnetic storm, the magnetic storage media in data centres, if not shielded, could be compromised. The cloud has evaporated. Your net worth is now exactly equal to the physical cash, gold, and useful items you have in your possession. The realisation that a number on a screen has ceased to exist causes a psychological break in the population. The frantic search for cash turns into a frantic search for value. Barter begins today. Evening of the first day. The sun is setting again. The novelty is gone. The fear has hardened into a cold knot in your stomach. The toilet won't flush anymore. The bucket is full. You have to take it outside to bury the waste. You see your neighbour doing the same thing. You lock eyes. There is no wave, no smile, just a wary assessment. Does he have more food than me? Is he armed? The social contract is fraying. A group of teenagers is smashing the windows of the gas station down the block. Not to steal gas, but just to break something. The veneer of civilization is incredibly thin, and without the electric hum to distract us, we are seeing the raw animal underneath. You go back inside, lock the deadbolt, and push the couch in front of the door. The final failure of the first 24 hours is hope fatigue. People spent the day waiting for the power to come back. Now that it's the second night, despair sets in. They start making irrational decisions. They try to leave the city in the dark. They try to drink unsafe water because they are thirsty, and it looks clean. They start arguing with their family members, blaming each other for not buying batteries. This internal conflict destroys the unit's cohesion. A survival group that fights itself is doomed. They are reacting to the loss of their digital dopamine drip. No TikTok, no news, no likes. Withdrawal symptoms are real, and they manifest as aggression and apathy. Logistics for the long haul. Sanitation is the killer. Dysentery killed more soldiers in the Civil War than bullets. You need to dig a latrine if you have a yard. It needs to be 100 feet from your house and downhill from any water source. If you are in an apartment, you are double bagging waste in heavy-duty trash bags and sealing them with duct tape. Do not let waste accumulate. Wash your hands with the grey water from your dishwashing. You need to establish a rule of law in your house. Who cooks? Who stands guard? Who manages the waste? Democracy is suspended. You need a hierarchy. Inventory your medical supplies. A simple cut in a grid-down world can become gangrenous without antibiotics. You are now your own doctor, waste management, and police force. The ultimate solar twist comes when you check the radio one last time. The static clears for a second. You hear a military broadcast on an emergency frequency. It's not promising help. It's declaring martial law and a curfew. But the transmission is weak, fading in and out. Why? Because the satellites that bounce these signals are gone. The GPS constellation that guides the military's drones and supply trucks has drifted out of alignment or been fried. The cavalry isn't coming because the cavalry is blind. The government is just as blind and deaf as you are. The realization hits. The transformers that blew up in hour zero take 18 months to manufacture, and the factories that make them also don't have power. This isn't a 24-hour blackout. This is the new Stone Age. You have survived the first 24 hours. Congratulations. You are thirsty, tired, and scared, but you are alive. The problem is, tomorrow is going to be harder, and the day after that, harder still. The food in the stores is gone. The water towers are empty. The novelty has worn off, and the desperate are getting organised. The sun, the giver of all life, has reminded us that we are just guests on this rock, and our lease is renewable only at its mercy. We built a civilization on a lattice of fragile copper wires, and the sky just melted them. The question isn't whether you can survive the first day, it's whether you have the mental fortitude to survive the first decade. The grid isn't just off, it's gone. If you want to know what happens when the cities begin to burn, when the medicine runs out, and how to build a community from the ashes of the digital age, you need to be here for the next briefing. We are going to cover the Week 1 die-off and the rise of local warlords. This wasn't a drill, it was a forecast. Secure your access to the next transmission now, because one day, the screen you're watching this on will just be a black mirror. Don't be the one staring at your reflection, wondering what to do. Be the one who is already moving. You survived the simulation. Now survive the reality. Equip yourself at the official supply depot. Because if the world is going to end, you might as well look prepared.